friends. Welcome to Baldy and the Blind, minus the bald guy. He is currently, let's say, touring Portugal. Something's wrong with this picture, right? What up, Kobe? Anyway, today we have two special guests. We're going to talk about autism, and, you know, a lot of times on radio shows and podcasts, it's always about the statistics, and we're going to talk about some of that and the science, but I think what gets overlooked is the life of families with autism and raising a child with autism. The two young ladies with me here today both have profoundly autistic sons. One is actually my niece, Renee Valaton, and she has a son, Dominic, who has profound autism. She has another autistic son, but not profound, named Vincent, who I think is going to be a farm worker one day. I've never seen a kid that likes to work more than him. Oh, whoa. And we have Raina. And Raina, what's your last name?
Moran.
Raina Moran. Good Cajun name. Raina has a 16-year-old son, Chase, and she runs a Facebook page called Chase Answers that you can check out. And Raina was an NICU nurse, which means the neonatal intensive care unit nurse, and unfortunately had a very severe stroke in 2015, largely due to the stress of caring for a profoundly autistic child, which I'm just not sure how much people know about what's entailed with these special needs children. And I'm going to go on a little rant before we get into their personal stories and say that when I was a kid, and I'll just say we had 3 mandatory vaccines. Right behind me, Renee's generation. Renee, you're 37?
38.
Sorry about that. 8, I believe y'all had 8 vaccines. And then starting in the late 80s and 90s, it exploded to what is now a childhood vaccine schedule of 72 vaccines. And guess what happened at the same time that those vaccines increased? Autism exploded. So growing up, I literally cannot name in my entire life, and I am a person that knows a lot of people. I do not know one person my age that has autism. Not one. And I went, I'm a baby boomer, so there was tons of kids at the Catholic schools that I went to. Nobody in my friend group, in my schools, there was not a single child in Chappelle or St. Philip Neri with autism, much less profound autism. Now, there's probably some kids that had things that they would now label as being on the spectrum, since that seems to be a fad, but that's not what we're here talking about today. So right now, the statistics are 1 in 31 children have autism. In California, it's 1 in 20, and of boys, it's 1 in 12, because boys are much more susceptible. Some people think because the blood-brain barrier is thinner with boys, which allows toxins to cross into the brain more easily than with girls. Anyway, so although we're not here to say vaccines cause autism, I am definitely here to say that we are currently spending $1.5 trillion on our little adventure in Iran, okay? We spend billions of dollars on COVID, which was a cold. We put the country on lockdown, broke down small businesses, and yet there's almost no interest, in my opinion, in getting to the bottom of what has caused this explosion in autism. And I guess we could maybe wake up when it's 1 out of every 2 kids. I don't know. And this is a problem that we have no experience dealing with something like this, because it disables you for life from the time you are 2 or 3 years old and diagnosed. And that is going to cost trillions of dollars in a country that is bordering on bankruptcy. So the only, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing that I know of that's even approved for quote-unquote treatment by insurance companies is a therapy called ABA. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And what does ABA stand for?
Applied behavioral analysis.
Okay, and that's basically trying to mold a child's behavior in what I would call, um, the where you put the pellet in the dog nose to press
Yeah.
the button to get the pellet. I can't think of the word
Yeah.
right now,
Like,
but
not real life.
yeah, not real life. And somebody got that approved, and it's turned into a giant money making
Huge.
endeavor because it's the only thing that's covered, and parents are desperate. So of course they'll try anything. But there's other people showing some positive results with stem cells. Are those approved? No. And parents will pay out of pocket $10,000 to get stem cells for their kids, trying to improve their future. So that's kind of basically the overview. And before we get into the personal stories of Renee and Raina, I'm going to play a clip from a Australian scientist that I think is
I've been
pretty
researching this since 2015, and originally, for most of the 20th century, autism was so rare, no one even thought to do a prevalence study. So you don't have the first autism prevalence study until 1970, and the prevalence rate at that time was 1 in 10,000 children. And then in the 1980s, the autism rate started to skyrocket. And so we were seeing 1 in 5,000, 1 in 2,500, 1 in 1,000, and the rates just kept going up and up. And so now we're at 1 in 31 children, and in California, it's even higher than that. They looked at 4-year-olds in 2022, and they found that 4-year-olds have a 6% autism rate. This is a civilization-ending epidemic if we don't get in front of it. In 2015, autism cost the United States $268 billion a year. So that's increased educational costs, increased housing costs, increased medical costs. And the research that I've done with Mark Blaxell and Cynthia Nevison shows that we're going to hit $1 trillion a year in autism costs in the United States by the end of the decade. But we've just never had a situation before where 3%, 4%, 5% of the population is disabled for life in infancy. So the thing about autism is autism costs more than cancer, stroke, and heart disease combined, because those diseases happen later in life and for a shorter period of time. With autism, these are costs and challenges over a lifetime.
Okay, and that was Dr. Toby Rogers from the University of Sydney and a fellow at the Great Brownstone Institute, appearing as a guest on, I believe, Steve Bannon's show that I clipped. And I mean, he's one of many sounding the alarm. Thank God, as mad as I am at Donald Orange Trump right now about the war and wasting our money, I'm very happy that we have RFK and some of the excellent people that he has put in at the CDC and the FDA, et cetera, and the commitment that Kennedy has over a lifetime to get to the bottom of what is causing the massive increase in autism and other childhood diseases. So with that, we will get more into some more of the science and play some more cool clips later, but I thought it'd be a good time now just to let's start with you, Raina, if you want to talk a little bit about your son, Chase, how you noticed the change, and assume that as a nurse you're pretty, especially a nurse who takes care of sick babies, that you would be an expert in diagnosing childhood problems. So what happened with Chase?
I mean, I didn't know much about autism, to tell you the truth. So Chase is my third. I have 2 other sons, and at his 12-month well baby visit, he got the MMR, the hepatitis A varicella vaccine, and a flu shot. And after that, he just began showing the signs, the red flags of autism. Like, he wasn't babbling anymore. Like, he had been saying, ma, 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 da, 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 He would never said it again. And walking on his toes is a sign. He was spinning things obsessively, like for 45 minutes, watching a ceiling fan or just spinning objects, plates, whatever. And I just, he had distended abdomen,
Yeah.
and he had watery stools, which he hadn't had before.
These were all new things.
Daily,
Yeah.
daily. So, yeah, I started researching it. I'm like, I think he has autism.
Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde, minus the bald guy. And I have in studio today two ladies who have profoundly autistic sons. And so we're going to look a little bit at the statistics, et cetera, of autism. If you missed the first segment, you can go back on baldyandtheblonde.com later and listen to it, or on WGSO.com. Also, y'all should download the app, because if you download the app, I haven't figured it out yet, but I think you can chat with me when I'm on the air. So, and it's simple. It makes it easy to listen to. So, anyway, what we're going to do now is turn it over to Raina Moran, who has a 16-year-old autistic son, and she's going to speak of her own experience as well as the large group of autistic moms that support each other, get together every couple of months, and so she's very familiar with what's daily life like with an autistic child. So take it away, Raina.
Okay. Let's see. Where do we start?
Wake up.
I guess, yeah. I'm speaking for, I know a lot of autism moms. We used to have a group that got together like once a month called Chase Answers. We no longer get together, but some of us are still in contact like on a daily basis.
Yeah, like text and just through text message, just
Yeah.
for support and everything.
Yeah, like we do support each other tremendously. Like if I didn't have these ladies to talk to about autism, I mean, nobody else really understands.
So tell us what it's like.
So
What are your struggles?
So right now, my house is, we have a 9-foot fence in the back. We have locks on all the gates. We have an iron door that locks automatically, so he can't get out the house. We have a bolt at the top with a lock that is keyed.
Oh, wow.
It's keyed from the inside and the outside. Our windows are nailed shut. I mean,
And this is because he tries to run away?
Yeah.
And I think the technical term is elopement, but
Yes.
that's what it means, right?
Yes,
Tries to
yes.
run away.
And so, I'm just worried all the time about him eloping because we have so many bodies of water. And our kids are drawn to water for some reason.
Autistic children, yes.
Yeah. He has also, I mean, he's not diagnosed, but whatever, he has it. He has apraxia. He has whole body apraxia. I know he does.
And what does that mean? The word is, if I'm saying it correctly, apraxia, correct?
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
So, like, it's a mind-body disconnect. Like, if he wants to do something, then his mind doesn't tell his body he wants to do that.
Oh.
Like, he getting in and out of the car, he has issues sometimes with that.
Like he's stuck.
Like daily.
Like he's stuck.
Yeah, he does get stuck a lot.
He's stuck.
Yeah.
So does that mean, like, you have to get him out of the car? He's a big kid, right?
Yes, we have a portable wheelchair that we bought just out of pocket. One of the many out of pocket.
Right. No
things.
insurance coverage.
So sometimes when his body is not cooperating, then we use his wheelchair and we just keep it in the back of our truck.
Does he have any violent tendencies? I know that's a problem with some kids.
You know what? He has broken 2 of our windows. He's broken his window at school. He has punched holes in the wall. He doesn't do this all the time. Like, there was a time period where he was and I think it's because they can't speak. Like, he doesn't have any words. He's totally
nonverbal. Yeah.
I think it's because they can't speak, and then they have frustration about that, and then maybe they're in pain, or maybe they're, having some issue that's bothering them, and they can't express it. So that's then, tables get flipped over,
Right.
walls get holes. We had to replace our floor one time.
Why was that?
We've definitely had to replace our floors too because he flooded
Yeah.
the whole bathtub while we were sleeping, and
And that was because he
That was-
likes the water.
yeah, that's because he loves the water.
I
And they
mean-
get up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I know Renee's son, of course, is my great nephew, and we have a house in the country. It could be 30 degrees. He walks in the house, takes off his clothes, and jumps in the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, loves water. So thankfully, that is not a bayou with alligators.
Right.
But as we know, that young child
In New
in New
Orleans
Orleans East was missing, and ended up deceased in the bayou. So-
Well, after that is when we got the 9-foot fence in the back and the iron door on our front door. Yeah.
is he able to get over the fence? Not yet, huh?
Not yet,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Yeah. So, is there any sort of treatment that's offered to you all by, let's say, by traditional doctors? What do they say? Oh well, good luck.
I mean,
They say put them on, drugs basically.
Yeah.
Drugs, and then we try to put them on that, or maybe we don't want to, but we're like, oh, well, trial and error, and it's totally different because their brains are wired differently, and it kind of backfires, I guess. So I feel like the drug that may work for you and I, it's not really going to work for them because their brains are just wired differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like Benadryl might make me
Oh,
tired.
yeah.
Will
It
wire
doesn't
him
make
up.
him tired, yeah. Or, Valium would make someone calm, whereas no, for them, it makes them wired up.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
So you don't feel that, and I don't want to put
Like-
words in your mouth, but
Well,
has
no.
anybody given you good advice as to, and I'm not saying anybody, look, I know one of the doctors involved in Dominic's care, and he's a great guy.
Yeah, no, I would say we have to travel out of state to go see doctors that actually really help us. We've been to Florida, Austin. Where have you?
our
Alabama.
doctor was in Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah, I
and
mean-
Detroit.
And they're just doctors who think outside of the box. They go from the inside out, and it still is trial and error because what works for one kid might not work for another kid, but at least they're trying, and they're thinking outside the box, whereas your regular pediatrician or a regular allergist or GI here is kind of, oh, well, I'm not sure, it's nothing, go home, and so then we
Yeah.
have to do it all over again
Because
somewhere else.
there are common problems that are shared by autistic children. I know gastrointestinal is a big
Yes.
thing.
Seizures.
Seizures can seizures. What else? Self harm.
Yeah. My son-
Allergies. I was just at the
Allergies.
doctor's before this
Yeah.
because Dom just has such bad allergies.
Yeah.
Can't explain it.
And of course, just separate and apart from autistic kids, that's one of the things Kennedy's looking at is the explosion again in allergies.
Yeah.
Anyway, y'all, we are talking with the moms of profoundly autistic kids just to kind of humanize the problem. Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde. This is Michelle Godin, missing the bald guy, Tom Coates, who's in Portugal. Ain't that nice? Anyway, today we have in the house two very brave and courageous moms raising autistic sons, profoundly autistic, not the cool thing like Love on the Spectrum, baby. That's not really what it
I
is.
just watched that for the first time the other day.
It's
I'm not
ridiculous.
going to watch it. I'm not
Yeah.
going to waste my time.
It's so ridiculous. 26% of kids that have autism can't talk. They are nonverbal. They have toilet training issues no matter their age. They have violent outbursts, probably because they can't talk. As Raina was saying, she's not sure what her son's trying to tell her. Does he have a sore throat? Is he sick? What is it? And, again, I just like to say that this is an actual epidemic of civilization ending importance, as was stated by Dr. Toby, I forget his last name, that we played in the beginning, Toby Rogers, I think. And, where's the concern? Where's the money? Where's the research? If we just put a fourth of the hysteria that we put into COVID, this would be solved. And furthermore, what's happened now is, as a result of the COVID scam, we learned that doctors lie. Oh, the vaccine's safe and effective. Oh, well, maybe it really won't prevent you from getting up. Well, yeah, it is experimental. Oh, yeah, we're using mRNA instead of a regular vaccine. So in order to make that work, we'll change the definition of vaccine, and I'm not kidding. That's what they did. And now people are walking around with bodies that are producing spike proteins constantly. So we all have, I think, a higher degree of skepticism about the medical profession, and they deserve it. Not every doctor, but absolutely most of them deserve it for having the curiosity of a pet rock. Okay? So here is an actual epidemic affecting children, and we seem to have no interest in it. And I just, it's beyond me. But at least we've taken some steps in the right direction. And I will put up with Orange Man because of having RFK and some other, progress in some of his agendas. But I digress. Anyway, so you wanted to talk some more about some of the issues that y'all have with your kids, huh?
Sure. First, I want to say, so Chase has started spelling to communicate. So he started that when he was 12. He, became, well, we didn't have any practitioners locally.
So let me stop you for a minute. There has been some progress with some children, including a kid in New Orleans who has actually gone to Tulane and graduated, with a recognition that they can. Some of these children can communicate. We just don't have the proper method for them to do so.
I think that all of them can do this.
I think that may be true. And, we're just, unfortunately, again, due to lack of resources and every last dollar going into the silly ABA programs, there's zero money going into the one thing that has shown some promise called, it comes under different theories, but basically the child points to letters and spells things out. There's speech to communicate. There's, what's the one?
There's RPM or rapid prompting method, but they're both basically the same thing. Yeah.
So they hold up a stencil cutout, and the child pushes his finger through. And, I mean, I've watched a bunch of videos about it, and you can see that, the criticism, of course, is probably comes from the ABA practitioners. It's very much controlled by the prompter. In other words, they're acting like it's fake. But I've seen the videos where the kid just does it himself.
It comes from ASHA, too, the people that do speech therapy.
Oh, yeah. Speech therapy's got their little grubby hands in it. Look.
Yeah.
And,
because
thank God for that.
$1 million industry as well.
But these are children that cannot speak.
Right.
It's something in their brain that doesn't allow them to speak.
My son did speech therapy for years and got nowhere. Yeah. Absolutely no communication for years.
Whereas Dominic, same thing. But your younger son, he does.
Yeah, I mean, I think just do whatever works for your kid. If spelling to communicate works, and you just got to keep up with it and keep trying it, and whatever works with your kid. But yeah, for Dominic, I mean, yes, he does not talk. He sees a speech therapist, and he works strictly on his device. So that's pictures, and he's very limited with that. Like, whereas Raina's son, he can actually spell some things, where Dominic will just put, I want chips, I want blue Doritos, I want barbecue chips, I need a break. I want to go outside. It's very limited. But I will say, with my younger son, the speech therapist, I mean, he broke through and, he started talking. But, that doesn't happen for, our two profound kids,
Right.
Chase and Dom. And I mean, Chase is doing amazing with the spelling.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
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 And it's really so interesting. So if anybody's out there, let's just say even just from a financial standpoint, there is so much money to be made
Yeah.
if there were only people trained to do speech to communicate or RPM or any of these alternative methods of communication for these children who, some of them are geniuses, and who knew because they couldn't communicate. And there's just, what are there, like 2 or 3 people in the state of Louisiana? I mean, there's nobody.
I
Right.
think there might be 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one
Imagine.
I know of is the one we go to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
who
I
is that?
I feel like if it was, covered at least a little bit under insurance, more parents would be willing to give this a try.
Yes.
Yes.
Just because
Definitely.
it takes time, just like anything with these kids. Like it's going to take a lot of time. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to see something after a week or whatever. So I feel like if the insurance covered it, which obviously it's not their fault. I mean, somebody's got to look at it from higher point and be like, oh, well, these kids really are spelling like this, so
Well,
why don't we put this,
It's
I don't know
always,
how that works.
It is the
but,
insurance company's fault.
Yeah.
Trust me, I sue them for a living.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in paying more than they have to. However, and maybe this is something we should discuss, but the way they got ABA was some mom, it was working for her kid, so she just fought like a dog to get other moms.
I'm so tired of having to
I bet
fight
you- I
for
bet you
every
are.
freaking
Yes.
thing.
So I'm appealing to the other side, not to the tired moms.
Yeah.
I'm appealing to people out there who are teachers, who work with special needs children, who are willing to learn these methods.
Right.
And once there's a body of some kids who are progressing in it, then the insurance company will have to cover it.
Yeah.
Because there'll be too much of a demand for it. And obviously this
And I mean,
population
it's
is
amazing
booming.
because why wouldn't you want to hear what these kids are actually thinking and saying?
Well,
I
yeah.
mean,
Because right now you have to pay out of pocket, right?
yeah. So for anybody that cares that's working with our kids, I mean, they should be open to it or open to whatever works.
And
for the
like I
child.
said, if you just appeal to people on, and there's nothing wrong with making money, right? Okay, so but appeal to people on, there is a huge demand and no supply.
Yes.
Now that is the recipe for wealth right
Yeah.
there. So even if you're just a cold-hearted speech therapist or teacher, and you have no interest in this, there's a lot of
Yeah,
money to be
tell them.
made.
And you
Chase will
know
spell,
what?
like,
a
crazy
lot,
things,
a lot of people.
I just remembered there's a call.
Oh,
I forgot about that guy. Y'all, excuse me 1 minute. We're going to take a call.
Mark from Gretna is his name.
Hey, Mark. Sorry about that.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. What can I do for you, Mark?
Great show. I have 2 daughters. They're not autistic. I kind of saw the writing on the wall between the foods and the Red 40 and the Skittles and
That's
the
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Doritos Cool Ranch. You look up the Red 40, it's a neurotoxin. No wonder my kids freak out. They bug out after eating Skittles.
Yep.
yep.
Giggles. It's our job to really vet what's going into our kids' mouths and bloodstream.
Yep.
It's obviously easier said than done. My kids go to school, another kid hands them
Right.
a bag of fun-sized
Absolutely.
Skittles. And
Yeah.
it's something I struggle with, and my wife, and it's just something hard to vet. And it's all over TV. It's right there at the eye level for the kids at the grocery store, at the gas station.
Yep.
I mean, the vaccines are like a tricky thing because, well, let's take it a step further. I mean, and obviously in southeast Louisiana, a lot of Catholics, a lot of Christians. If there's aborted fetal tissue in the shots,
Yep.
a lot of the shots, HPV,
Yep.
all the CDC recommended, the MMR, the COVID shots. I mean, by default, we should be opposed to these vaccines. If you're against abortion, and yet, and a lot of Christians and Gentiles, whatever you want to call them, goyim, whatever, they are taking these shots. They're not even vetting what's in the vaccine.
Yeah.
They don't know that.
Exactly.
Well, that's true,
Sure.
and I think that there's definitely room for people to question everything, and if nothing else, let's say you're really worried that, your child needs these vaccines. There's no reason you can't space them out. Like the way that Raina described her child had, 6 in one day. They have some new vaccine that's Vitalex or something, and it's like 8 things in one.
Crazy.
And
Crazy.
if your child is sick, I remember when Dominic got his vaccines, he was sick, and I
They
think
should never give them to you.
Ever.
while
Never.
you're sick.
Ever.
Oh no.
and
That's a
and
big
he
red flag.
immediately regressed. So I think everybody does have to do their own research, but the damn country needs to spend money on this crisis. This is a crisis, and we need to solve it. These are children. I mean, these are not Iraqis or Iranians, okay?
Right.
This is the United States of America. Our roads are falling apart, and our children are falling apart.
And they will
children.
never hold jobs
No.
ever. So
They'll be on
I
the
don't know
public-
what the next generation's gonna.
It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
So we are here talking about the crisis of American children due to autism and other diseases, and we're very happy that Robert F. Kennedy is at least in charge. We have been joined today by 2 wonderful young ladies who are raising profoundly autistic sons. So we're not just talking about, the statistics, although they're alarming, and unfortunately, they track with the explosion of autism, of vaccines. I didn't say something before about that. The reason there's so many vaccines now, in my opinion, is because in 1986, Ronald Reagan fell under the spell of a demon or something and granted immunity, meaning there's no liability for screwed up shots if they're on the childhood vaccine schedule. So naturally, all of the pharmaceutical companies did everything they could to get all these vaccines increased and included on the childhood vaccine schedule, which, by the way, Florida has abolished all vaccines for all people.
Yay, Florida.
Yeah, right?
Is that why you're moving there?
Let's say.
She loves the beach is
Yeah.
part of it. But anyway, so there is definitely a move to decrease it. But if you feel strongly about it, you should at least look into spacing them out. Like, for example, Dr. Bill Cassidy was behind the hepatitis vaccine given immediately after birth. Now, hepatitis is caused by IV drug use or prostitution. I don't know a whole lot of drug-using prostitute infants. I don't know about y'all.
No.
So, reason right there to go no to Cassidy.
Yeah, I do not.
No,
support
yes,
Cassidy
absolutely not.
at all.
So, and I have one clip that I just think is kind of fun. There's this woman, Dr. Catherine Edwards, and she's, Miss Vaccinologist, Vanderbilt. Anyway, she's been in a bunch of different cases, and she was testifying in a case called Hazelhurst versus Hayes, and a great lawyer in the vaccine world named Aaron Siri was questioning her, and he got her basically to admit that the childhood vaccine trials do not support the CDC's claim that vaccines don't cause autism. So you'll hear him ask her, do childhood vaccine trials support the CDC's claim that vaccines do not cause autism? And her response will be no. So here it is, just because I just think she was so smug and she deserved being put in her place.
What you would do
Oh,
if you
sorry,
wanted to
wrong
find
one.
the answer would
All right. That was Robert Kennedy talking about something on vaccines too, but we're going to go with this
So
one.
you're highly experienced in conducting clinical trials, correct?
I'm highly experienced conducting clinical trials.
In your opinion, did the clinical trials relied upon to license the vaccines that Yates received, many of which are still on the market today? Were they designed to rule out that the vaccine causes autism?
No,
There you
Is
go.
that your accurate and truthful testimony?
yes,
There you go. So the vaccine trials were not designed to rule out that vaccines cause autism by the queen of vaccinology, Miss Pro-Vaccine, Miss I Never Met a Vaccine That I Didn't Love, Dr. Catherine Edwards, who, by the way, was very unhappy giving that testimony and looked like she was weaned on lemons. So, And then there's been a whole lot more too.
I think there isn't a doctor in the world that could convince me otherwise
Yeah.
at this point.
I mean, who would take the chance, you know? I mean, we literally had 3 shots, you know, and here we are. Nobody died. Nobody has autism.
Right.
So it's, you know, the idea that you can't handle measles or mumps or, you know, chicken pox. I'm sure there's the occasional child who has a terrible reaction and dies, but not as many as are having terrible reactions and having autism, right?
Yes.
So, and hey, do we know for sure that there's a connection? We can say there's a connection just by looking at the charts. But what we need is money for research, for the causation, and money for how to treat these children, money to teach them how to speak, all of the things y'all have been talking about. It's absurd that we have this huge epidemic and are doing nothing about it. Not enough, anyway.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is a lifelong thing for them. Like, we don't know when they're going to leave our house at this point. I mean, if they get outside right now, I mean, they could not come without us knowing. They could just not come back. So they'll be with us for life. I mean, it's not worth it to me. So.
And then, as I'm sure all parents worry about when they have children with special needs, what happens when you're old and you die? What happens to them?
Right, no clue.
Because we have no idea in this country what we're going to do, you know?
I mean, I don't know. Luckily, I have 2 other sons that are older.
And it'll help you, yeah.
I mean, I hope that they would take care of him. But yeah, I don't know what would happen if we died
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's just a crisis of epic proportions, a real actual crisis, not the nonsensical COVID BS, you know, which just irks me to my. It's just unbelievable that New Orleanians walked around with little vaccine cards to walk to their table to eat, and then they have their mask on, put it down, take a bite of their hamburger, and put it back on. Like, bah, are you a sheep? God, come on. That is why we bought a house across the lake.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, I still have one here too, but I'm just saying that there was land of the free
Yeah.
outside of the Democrat hellhole of politicians. I love my city, but I do not like the politics of New Orleans. So, which, you know, looks like every other Democrat city, and frankly, the whole country's starting to look like that because Israel first, America last. So, and that especially irks me with regard to autistic children. So, so we're getting ready to wrap it up. I understand that there is something y'all both are interested in seeing, in addition to getting funding for some of these alternative sources of care for your children.
The Amber Alert for the autistic kids is something that we'd, like to have because, Chase got out at, remember?
I mean, Chase gets out all the time. He has got out many times. Like one time he got out at 1 o'clock in the morning.
And you didn't
we were
know it.
sleeping,
Yeah.
and we didn't know it.
Yeah, so it's called, what did I say it was
I
called?
think it's called the Spectrum Alert.
Spectrum Alert, and it just passed in Florida. So if we could somehow get it passed here, that would be very
And I think there's a bill
helpful.
in,
Oh, good.
It is
Hopefully.
coming soon, hopefully, if it's passed.
So I would recommend that we get in touch with a couple of legislators. It seems like something that anybody would be interested in sponsoring. There's
Yeah.
no downside to
Yeah,
it.
why would you?
But the difference is, like, an Amber Alert is when a child's been kidnapped or taken. This is when a child's just wandered
Loose.
off.